The Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras has described the agreement with the EU on an extension of its funding agreement as a decisive step, but warned that Greece had won a battle, not the war. Eurozone finance ministers have agreed to grant Greece a 4-month extension, providing they submit a list of financial reforms. The Syriza government has until Monday night to submit the preliminary list. From Athens, Mark Lowen now reports.
After the deal in Brussels, the hard sell in Athens, Greece is digesting a compromise that pulled it back from the edge, its hand forced by the threat that banks here could sink. It took 3 Eurozone meetings for the deal to be struck. Greece will get a 4-month extension of its loan. It won't make any move without EU agreement, so raising the minimum wage is probably off the table. And it will be supervised by its creditors, which it had fought against. But the government is pushing its message that Greece now has a say in what measures it'll accept and may be allowed to spend a little to help the poorest. The Prime Minister called it a decisive step, leaving austerity and the old bailout behind, choosing policies of growth. We've won a battle, he said, but we haven't won a war. But his party gave a different message before the election to what it's had to accept. Syriza was elected by promising to end the bailout and reverse austerity, and it's been forced into a major climb down. The hard left of the party may rebel, but it might just gain the backing of centrists instead, who believe the party has taken a pragmatic path to avoid the threat of Greece crashing out of the euro. In the leftists' heartland, they're reserving judgment on the deal served up.
They are doing a step back of what they promised to the people.
I can't say it's a victory, but I can't say it's a failure. I mean, we took for the moment some time.
Saved at the 11th hour, but Greece's prospects are still shrouded in doubt, and it could be back here again in 4 months' time. Mark Lowen, BBC News, Athens.
OK, let's talk live now to the political analyst Yannis Koutsomitis, who joins us on Skype from Crete. Mr. Koutsomitis, what do you think will happen in 4 months' time?
Well, before the 4-month deadline, we have a deadline for Monday. The Greek government has to come up with certain and very concrete reform proposals to the institutions of the European Union, so that the review of the institutions can conclude in 2 months. And by the end of April, the European institutions need to conclude their review of the Greek economy. That means certain reforms have to be implemented, and certain measures have to be taken by the Greek government in order to secure funding for the state. The state is in a very difficult situation because revenue is running very low because of the political instability. So in the next 2 months, the Greek government has to negotiate with the European institutions about reforms and how it can receive funding for the next months. So there is a next stage, which will be in 4 months. The next stage will be deciding, negotiating a new program for Greece, a new bailout program for Greece that will eventually include a loan that will help Greece cover its obligations and bonds that are due in the summer.
Mr. Tsipras, just to interrupt you for a second. Mr. Tsipras has obviously spent some of his own political capital here. If he is across that as a political reality, if he wants to claw some of that back, what's to stop him in 4 months' time saying, actually, I just want to rejig what we agreed 4 months ago, and we're not going to start clearing our debt?
Well, one thing that is very, very tough right now for the Greek government is the European Central Bank is imposing very strict conditions on Greek banks regarding how they can raise capital to fund the Greek economy. So eventually, if the Greek government did not sign up, if yesterday the Greek government did not agree with the conditions of the Eurogroup, the Greek banks would have a real problem. The Irish finance minister said today that on Wednesday the Greek banking system could go bust if there was no agreement yesterday. So we realize that Greece is in a very serious situation regarding its funding, regarding the state, and also the banking system. So I think the Greek government has overplayed its hand a bit, but now it's coming to reality. It has agreed to very realistic terms, and we'll have to see how they can deliver on reforms, because this is the main issue of the Greek economy. Greek economy needs reforms, needs funding, needs liquidity, which right now are absent. So we need to see in the coming weeks how the Greek government can implement these reforms and come to terms with the European partners' conditions.
Mr. Koutsomitis, we must leave it there, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Do stay with us here on BBC World News. Still to